It is that time for us to talk Manchester United. A very good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Welcome to the United Hotspot. Whichever part of the world you're in, you must know the biggest football party will test at Aston Villa's at home, the Villa Park in West Midlands. Forget about anything else. Certainly, it's a busy weekend of football, and so many games have already taken place. There is another one that has just kicked off, the third place match in the Africa Cup of Nations between South Africa and the DR of Congo, but the bigger ones will be coming your way tomorrow, especially Manchester United up in action in the English Premier League. My name is Webb. Always a pleasure to be here to talk about Manchester United. How are you doing, fam? How is it going? Are you happy? Are you good? Are you in a good mood? As a Man United supporter, how is your dear life? Are you feeling healthy? Has it been a good couple of weeks? I think it should have been for you. If not, well, I'm here to give you, I think, a better mood, I think, about Manchester United. There is a lot of news for us to get into today, starting off with the crazy Glazers. The crazy, greedy Glazers continuing to be who they are. As we do think about how we are going to revamp this club, they think about how they can make an extra pound from our club. I'll tell you how, and the crazy ideas they are having, they are suggesting. We'll talk about our summer, deals that I think would make sense for Manchester United. I'll talk about those in parts. There is part one, part two, and part three. In my earlier video from today, I spoke about part one, that was the midfield and the forwards, the players I think that should make sense for Man United. I'll highlight more and elaborate more on that in a bit. I did so in just 8 minutes. I think I need a little bit more time for me to be able to talk about more of those. We'll also talk about, obviously, that trip to Villa Park against the fourth placed Aston Villa, and how Manchester United is prepared to take this one on. Another opportunity for us to enjoy the bromance, the love affair between this baby trinity of ours, and what exactly we should expect from them going forward. Are they fit, fully fit? Well, we'll talk about that as well in just a bit. But also, of course, an interview was dropped earlier on today from Diogo Dalot, speaking about how the hard work is eventually beginning to yield results for Manchester United. We'll talk about that in a bit. Diogo Dalot is one of our more important players lately. He's so improved. I honestly want to give him his flowers when he's still performing. So a lot to look into Manchester United. My name is Webb. Subscribe to United Sport and let's get proper into this hop. To become a member, just click on the join button on your on this channel on YouTube, and of course you join the community of Man United supporters globally. Now, many Premier League games took place today. Of course, Manchester City beat Everton by 2-0, a game that continues to prove how Manchester City is a one-man team. If you ask me, without Kevin De Bruyne, Manchester City is one of the weakest teams probably in the league. They are so beatable. That's what I'm trying to say. Of course, they are not the weakest, but it's a figure of speech. But you saw how they struggled until the introduction of Kevin De Bruyne in I think about the early into the second half. Him and Kyle Walker changed the game for City, and that's how they were able to beat Everton by 2-0. Fulham and Bournemouth, it was a 3-1 victory for the Londoners. For Fulham, Liverpool beat Burnley by 3-1. It was an interesting one as well. Then Luton and Sheffield United. Luton beaten by 3-1. Inconsistency in Luton. They can come and give a bigger club a run for their money, only for them to capitalize. It's one of the teams we will be facing this in the next couple of weeks. Without, I think it should be the next game after Aston Villa. It's one of the games we do play without Licha. So they were beaten at home. That's Luton for you by Sheffield. So we should have every right to think we can beat them. Tottenham Hotspur and Brighton, a 2-1 victory for Spurs. Then Wolves and Brentford, it was a 2-0 away victory for Brentford, a 3-2 victory for Newcastle. But unfortunately, I didn't watch the game, but I do know that their striker, Alexander Isak, was not there. That's my son's favorite player in the Premier League. Him and Cristiano Ronaldo. I love the fact that he loves Cristiano Ronaldo. I love it. It shows he's a serious boy. Wow. Welcome. Let's get proper into Man United talk. Just to remind you of the table standings as we do go into Aston Villa. Liverpool are topping. They have got 54 points to their credit after that victory. It was a hard-earned one after 1-0 draw in the first stanza, just like it was a hard-earned victory for Manchester City. Man City are second, 2 points shy of Liverpool, but City have got a game in hand. Arsenal are third, they have got 49. Tottenham, who won 2-1, have got 47 points. They are fourth on the pile. Aston Villa are fifth. They have got 46 points to their name. Manchester United is sixth. We've got 38, and a victory would mean we just narrow the gap against behind Aston Villa. But whatever the case, whatever victory we get, we will still be behind them because they are 8 points clear of us. But honestly, even before we get proper into the game and the talk of Man United and all the news, the reality is I think all the clubs ahead of us are beatable. Where we are, the position we are in right now, I saw Man City struggle to beat to who did they beat? I saw Man City struggle today to beat Everton, a team that is in the relegation zone. And honestly, it showed me that if we didn't have the injuries we suffered for that long period of time, we would probably be ahead of them. And that again gives me more hope in Erik ten Hag, and I want to give him a bit of more credit, like he has been craving for it. I honestly think he deserves it. I think this squad in this other half of the season, like Diogo Dalot has said, I think we can grind results and push as far as we can. We can still be in the top three conversation. I actually think the worst, I said it at the start of the season, that for me, success for Erik ten Hag would be finishing above the third or above, third, second, and first. I still think we can finish in any of those places because the teams ahead of us are not doing so well themselves. Liverpool, table leaders, they are not the lethal Liverpool they were before. Man City are out of sorts. They lacked Kevin De Bruyne for a long time, and when they even now he's not 100% match fit. 6 games into his return, he's not really that the lethal Kevin De Bruyne has been, but he's also aging. So I think Man is also soon going into a serious state of transition, to be honest. And the players, Pep Guardiola is landing on now how we perform without him against Aston Villa. If the game is good, trust me, United will. But that's a bit of the preamble as we get into this talk. Well, I see Alfred Sendwe right on time as always. He's asking, how are you doing, brother? What do you think of tomorrow's game? Who can replace Licha? Beautiful question. And of course, let's get straight into that. I think there is no doubt that the best pair without Licha, if they are fit, is obviously going to be Rafael Varane and Harry Maguire. But usually with United, you cannot be sure that all your obvious players are going to be fit and available the way you expect them. So the very worst could see maybe Victor Lindelof. He had a few minutes in the last game. Lindelof partnering either Harry Maguire or Varane, depending on their fitness, to be honest. But I think it's obvious if they're all fully fit, the best pair will be Rafael Varane playing alongside Harry Maguire. I think that would be the most obvious pairing, I think, in that defense, without a shadow of a doubt. So that's what I expect to see. In the left back, I don't want to see a situation where we push Luke Shaw in the left back. Of course, Erik ten Hag has wanted to play that because of his fascination with playing a naturally left-footed player on the left-hand side of the center back, of the central defense. But stats have proven that that Varane is a very ambidextrous player, that he's played, I think 42% of the balls he has played have been with his left foot, which is quite surprising. I honestly don't see him use the left foot a lot in games. I read that stat somewhere and I was a bit surprised by it. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to see. But let me read for you. Let me read for you an interesting, surprising story that I've read today. The source is said to be ESPN, but I've not read it from. It's an interesting one that I want to again point to these greedy Glazers and how, you see, we are all concerned about performances on the pitch and how we deliver results and all, but the greedy Glazers are only caring about one thing: how do they make an extra pound from this huge community, global community of Man United supporters? And this is the idea that they are coming up with. So it is said that the Glazers are contemplating introducing, they do want Manchester United players to start wearing cameras so that, excuse me, so that some supporters will have had a heavy meal. You know, I've had a heavy meal before coming live. So I probably needed to drink some serious water, but I will get it anyway. So The Glazers apparently they are thinking about making more money, and we know that they have relinquished the authority over football to Sir Jim, but not entirely. They certainly have a big say because they are 75% as holders owners of the club, and apparently what has been scratching their mind is how they make an extra dime from the millions and millions of United supporters globally. And apparently their latest innovation, this is according to ESPN, is that they do want Manchester United players to wear cameras in their bodies so that certain fans can pay to experience being a player on the pitch for 90 minutes. So you're watching football with what they call augmented, uh, they are called, it's called augmented AR, augmented reality. That's the word. It's called augmented reality, and they have done it apparently with their Tampa Bay Buccaneers in American football, and they want to introduce the same. So certain fans who have their money can pay to experience. For example, Bruno Fernandes, you can pay for you to be Bruno Fernandes, literally, like you're seeing him through him, if you know what I mean. So you put on those camera augmented reality these days is a thing. People actually pay for it. It's like an adventure of sorts. So you pay, put on those glasses the way you do when you go to a cinema. You're able to watch. You see the way you have 3D uh, glasses. So you have augmented reality glasses where you're watching Kobe Man and every move he makes, but you're seeing it through his body. And I'm thinking, so we are here scratching heads and trying to think of which players we should be signing in the summer. And the 75% stakeholders of this club, owners of this club, are thinking about making more money because that would make them a lot of money without a doubt. But at what cost? How inconveniencing would that be? And it was tested, by the way, in the Super Cup. I think it tested in the Super Cup. Borussia Dortmund playing against in the German Super Cup, Borussia Dortmund and Bayern. And I think Lam was among the people who were watching. They were trying to test that technology. You know how these Germans are always introducing technology. I think it's them who introduced the goal line technology and all. Goal line technology is a bit silent lately, by the way. It did not gain the popularity I expected it to gain. But I I find it interesting that the Glazers, at this point in time when we are all worried about how this club is going to come up and be competitive and win games of football and disposition Man City and Liverpool, the owners, the majority stake owners of the club are thinking about how to make more money. It's sad, but that's the reality. Your 2 cents on it, whether you think it's something you would pay for, so that you can be able to see your favorite player through him, if you know what I mean. So they wear a camera on them as they are running around, and you're running with them, so you're seeing him differently from what we see on TV. But anyway, let's get proper into the football talk. So Man United are traveling to Aston Villa, an important game, and I think it's an opportunity for us again to see how these kids that you see on your screen will gel, how they will perform together. I don't know, my internet is buffering, and I hate to see it. I hate to see it. I wonder what the problem is. I'll probably call my service provider a bit and see if they can put that right. Is it the place where I am and the speeds? I don't know. But I feel like it's buffering a bit. Please pardon me on that. But I mean, it is. I mean, internet is internet. I don't have a maximum control. Yeah, follow the conversation and stick with me. So uh, the the game tomorrow. I think it's an opportunity for me. The one thing I'll be trying to critically watch in the game against Aston Villa is how these kids continue to play together and read the body language in terms of the cohesion. I think the past games have shown us that there is a certain level of cohesion in this team at some point, and I think we started seeing this the moment news started emerging that there was a sort of a divided dressing room at Old Trafford. But I think game ever since, I think either Eric Ten Hag managed it or something. But I think since then we saw players beginning to look like the unit, the team playing for each other. Of course, there have been moments of selfishness from Garnacho, from Marcus Rashford at times, but I think by and large, if we go by the last game against West Ham, I think there's a certain togetherness. And if you talk to people at Old Trafford, they tell you the exciting performances of these youngsters in Kobe Mainu and Alejandro Garnacho And then, of course, the newbie, that is Rasmus Højlund, has has improved the atmosphere at Carrington. Like the energy, the love, the passion at Carrington has improved because of these youngsters. I think they have brought joy to everyone. I think every player around them, like we all as supporters of the club, draw a lot of hope and inspiration and belief and confidence from these young kids. I think even their fellow players, their teammates also draw a lot of confidence and belief from them because I think they had struggled way too long before the emergence of these kids. So that's why we see that I think there's a certain sort of cohesion that I think we wouldn't have, acknowledged before, which I think is extremely commendable. Whether we credit that on Eric Ten Hag, I don't know. I've seen somewhere Ole Gunnar Solskjaer saying how he worked with Marcus Rashford for 3 years, and whether he's not sure it's his job to get the best out of him. I think it is, but also how he spoke about how, I mean, as a player, he had a lot to do to work on his best, push himself to perform to the best of his abilities. But I think for me, the team Man United now is looking like a team, and that has not been so for a long time. Players were for the longest time looking disjointed, like they were not training. I remember there were moments we were coming here and we were asking ourselves, are these people training? What are they doing during training? What exactly do they do at Carrington when they lock themselves out and no one is seeing what they're doing? What exactly are they doing? Are they just bantering around or what? But I think, like Diogo Dalot said in his interview, we're beginning to see the results of the fruits of the hard work they have been putting in for a long time, which you love to see eventually. And even them now, they've got belief in themselves. And again, you can only, vindicate it with the performances. So the performances are what vindicate you. And I think the past two games have shown us that they are coming. Whether we gain consistency now playing against another top opponent, that's again a matter of time. Time will tell whether that will be the case. But speaking of the team and the squad, I don't expect much changes by Eric Ten Hag. I'm just hoping that Ten Hag sticks to playing two holding midfielders, a double pivot, and trying to play Kobe Maino as a number 10. It is good that the England boss also sees what I've been seeing. I've been telling people that whereas Kobe Maino is an impeccable holding midfielder or defensive central midfielder, I actually think he can be better for us as a number 6, more so, rather as a number 10, especially if we've got an able person playing number 6. So if we've got Casemiro, who looks to be improving every day with each game, I don't think we need to then put Kobe Maino next to him. I would rather we put Bruno next to him and play Kobe as a number 10. And of course, I've seen people in comment section saying that Bruno is our best number 10. But you cannot say he is our best before you've tried out Kobe. We've not had a chance to see Kobe be number 10. I think Kobe can be a better number 10 than Bruno Fernandes. I honestly think so. But that's again, maybe it's early days for us to go into that, that risk. We can try to keep him box to box because he can still go into those spaces. But also the way United plays lately, I think some puzzles I'm trying to study. The player movements are a bit different. They are not what we see usually. And maybe now we see what Eric Ten Hag has been coaching these players, as Diogo Dalot has been saying it. But I still insist on wanting to see Kobe Maino in the number 10 position, and we'll see if it will work or not. But I've got no doubt that it will work miracles for us. Rasmus Højlund, and I was reading something about it was Luke Shaw speaking about Rasmus Højlund and how one thing about Højlund that everyone around him loves, and perhaps that's why if you see when he scores a goal, everyone is genuinely happy for him. He's more involved in play, yes. Whereas players have been selfish and not passing the ball to him, I think you see that they are happy for him. When I was at Carrington, he came driving in his Range Rover. He drives a left-hand drive Range Rover. I think most of the other players drive in the UK. I think most cars are right-hand drive. His is a left-hand drive black Range Rover, and I just loved. You would see that he's such a humble boy. He's such a humble boy, and I'm not surprised that whichever interview I see and I watch or read about him is just confirming that. I will not get a chance to speak to him, but he slowed down and waved with a beautiful smile to all the fans who are there at Carrington, trying to wait for these players and all, which looked good on him. in all honesty. I think he's such a humble character. Even when you watch his interviews, he's quite humble. I think you would have issues not to like him. But Luke Shaw said that the one thing they all love about him is his willingness to learn, that he came for a big fee, young, but he has a lot of belief in himself. But most importantly, he's so humble that he wants to keep learning. They say in the dressing room, his closest friend is Christian Eriksen. And if you remember, if you didn't watch, you got back in our videos, when I was at Old Trafford, I was in the dressing room and I showed you how the dressing room is arranged. And Hoyland sits next to Christian Eriksen. Maybe, and in the interview, Eriksen dropped an interview, I think just yesterday, the same day Kambwala, as the interview was released. And it was also, they asked him about the same, how maybe him and Hoyland is friends mostly with Eriksen and Victor Lindelof. He spends more time with them. Not that he doesn't talk to others, but of course, maybe it's a language thing, especially with Christian Eriksen, because they come from the same country. But he said he's they communicate well, but also he wants to keep talking to everyone and try to learn things from him. He's so hungry to learn, and perhaps that's why we see the improvement. But also that's why we see his teammates now beginning to support him, and we know that when they do that, he's only going to score more goals. So for me, that's a very important thing. And it's important for a team of young players to jail immediately. That's why those celebrations are good. You saw how Nacho went and sat on that advertising board, and then they all came. Hoyland comes and sits and even pulls closer. He knew that this was going to be a beautiful photo moment. That photo is for the gala. It's for the gala. It's for the museum. It's a classic. That photo will be spoken about in years to come. Man United is known for selling history. This is history again being rewritten. That baby Trinity photo, when Garnacho scored and sat with Kobe Mainu and Rasmus Højlund, is something that will be sculpted and probably even put somewhere at Old Trafford or at the new Wembley Trafford, if I would call it that. So you see that a story is being told with these boys, and you just want to see more and more of it. And you hope that these boys stay fit. You hope that they stay passionate. And that's why I keep saying that now. Just imagine you bring back Mason Greenwood and drop him in this team. For me, it would create a story we cannot even explain. It would be the most beautiful thing to see in football. So for me, that's what I'm excited to see in that game against Aston Villa. I've got no doubt that we can win this game. I think Aston Villa are beatable, like we've proven in their last two games, whereas they can be solid, but I think they're extremely beatable. And I think United is in a calm place now. All we needed was to be calm and organized, know what we are doing, and know how we play. Our players are there, and we've got enough weapons in our armory to win this one. So I've got no doubt about that. My only, perhaps, the only change I could, by the way, surprisingly expect in the game tomorrow, and how the training went. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, for this tomorrow's game for Marcus Rashford to start on the bench. Yep. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But I wouldn't be surprised if Marcus Rashford started on the bench. And you may ask me, and who would start in his place? That would be the multi-million dollar question. Of course, the usual Eric Ten Hag that we knew would start Anthony there. But if it were me as manager, I would start Amad Diallo in that place. I do hope we get to see a chance to see Amad Diallo given some time. I think he deserves it. I think he has sort of earned it. I feel like he has put in enough hard yards for him to warrant a place, at least a few decent minutes in a game against Aston Villa. But anyhow, I think Rashford did not perform so well in the last game against West Ham. I think I also don't think he has been completely forgiven. To be honest, I don't think so. And that brings me to my next talking point. So of course there are so many players now we have been speculating. Of course, it's Man United. At a time like this, when we are looking ahead to the next summer transfer window, you obviously expect so much talk about which players United could bring in or not. Now, the one player I wouldn't want to start United is Frankie de Jong. I'll keep stressing that for as long as I can, for as long as my voice can. I wouldn't want to see Frankie de Jong at United, because the reality is he turned us down with disrespect. We spent money and time sending our incompetent negotiators in John Matt and Richard Arnold to try and lure him. Just when we thought he was coming, 2 summers ago, he says no, he refuses to join United. Now, Us Barcelona is cash. Now is the time for us to go for him. I think if you have not shown that you don't want to play for us, there is no hunger in you. I don't think you deserve to play for us. But also at a time like this, when you are trying to rebuild and bring back players who have got a certain uh, 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 okay, Ayub Kamara High Hotspot, you try a lot to give us the information about Man U. May Allah bless you more. And I'm still at your back. Okay. Oh, thank you, Ayub, brother. I try so much indeed to bring you all this news. Well, to be honest, it's all for the love. It's a passion. I actually invest my, money in this. You've seen me at Old Trafford and all. But of course, it's all for the love of the club. But also, we know that we're in a difficult time as Man United. And I know that if there is one thing, to be honest, that can give you a bad night, poor mental health and stuff, it's this game called football. That's why I call it the beautiful game. You can't even explain why, but honestly, when Man United loses, you feel bad. When Man United wins, there is a satisfaction you have, even if you don't have a penny on you. So this is life. This is why we live life. You see, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is the richest man in the UK, but he said he has got all this money, oil money, but the only thing that is going to make him happy is seeing Man United successful again. So I am passionate about Manchester United. I'm passionate about football. I'm soon going to open another channel where I talk about football generally, and I think people have been asking me that for a long time. I will do it soon, but for now, I just want to focus on United. But soon I will open another talking about general football. But yeah, thank you so much, Ayub, for appreciating. That's humbling. It's a very extremely humbling comment from you. I appreciate it, and it's so encouraging for me that people appreciate the fact that I'll put in the hard years to go places as far as Old Trafford to try and bring a United story for you, but also to try and understand the club more and be able to talk about it with more authority and more awareness, and I know more what I'm talking about, not just what I read and see or in videos and all, but I've been there and I've interacted to people. I've got made contacts. I'm known at least there. I've watched games. I've spent on the club. I know what it means to spend your money. So thank you so much, Ayub. That's a beautiful comment, and it's really really encouraging. I appreciate that. Bless you, fam. Now back to United. I think I was talking about our summer and the window. So I'm going to first this part one, and tomorrow, the other day, and every day I'll talk about the other parts of the transfer, the summer transfer window. Now, look, Frankie De Jong for me, I think for me is a no debate. We can't be having Frank De Jong, but this is what I think. As we go into the summer transfer window, of course, we are right now focusing on this team. Good enough, the team is picking up towards the end of the season. So we have a proper opportunity to judge and see who is good and who is bad. Where do we need to improve? Now, who do we sell and all? I think we need to let go of about at least 5 or 6 players in the summer. And I'll mention names. We need to let go of players like Rafael Varane. We need to let go of players like Anthony Dos Santos. We need to let go of Anthony Martial. I think that's a given. I think that was already decided. Anthony Martial needs to go. I think Casemiro might have. We might. I still think yes, whereas Casemiro is improving in his levels, I still think Casemiro needs to go. I think Marcus Rashford has got to go. Those are the 5 players who I think have got to go without and Sofiane Amrabat needs to go back. He needs to go back after his loan spell. Those are 6 players, I believe. And Christian Eriksen, that's the 7th one. How was I going to forget him? I think that's not even a question. So those are 7 players. So that's actually 7. So I think 7 players need to go. Now, of those 7 players that I've said, Christian Eriksen will not get any money out of Eriksen. He will leave on a free. I think his contract will be out in the summer. So that one will leave for free. Anthony Martial, same case. He won't get a nickel from Martial because no one will want to buy him, but also his contract will be running out. So Martial, those are 2 free departures. Same with Rafael Varane. I think Varane, no money. He will leave for free as well and go elsewhere. That's Rafael Varane. Those are 3 players. Now, Casemiro, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony are the 3 players I think we need to sell and make money. And I'm going to tell you how we put that money to use. So, Casemiro, and guys, let me first say this because I know there are people out there who are going to go in the comment section and say, well, we can't play because he's looking good now. But people have got to, we need to start looking ahead. I think managing a club like Manchester United, you need to don't manage for the time, for the moment, manage for what's coming. And right now we are in a rebuilding phase. I know that when you're rebuilding, you need a certain number of experienced players around the young players. I know that without a fact. I know that one of the key reasons Chelsea are struggling is, remember the situation Manchester United is in. This is why I think we might be left with the captain, Bruno Fernandes, who, by the way, certain people are thinking he should also be sold, but I don't think it's happening. But we might be left to bank on the experience of Bruno Fernandes. Harry Maguire might stay. Chances are, because he's English, but also Harry Maguire is not a bad player. He's improving every day. Harry Maguire, of course, Luke Shaw is experienced. He's not going anywhere, certainly. Lisandro Martinez is experienced enough. So there's enough experience even when we let go of Varane and it is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth swimming. As such, viewers will experience. Okay. My internet is a bit buffering. It's sad. It's sad. I hate to see it. I hope you're not struggling to watch me, but I think it can be improved over time. But here's the thing. So I think even when we let go of Varane and Casemiro, we will still have we'll still have enough experience in the team. And I'm going to talk about Alfred. I'm going to talk about Mount, because Alfred is saying, Webb, next time please try to address Mount in the team. How can we use him? I feel that that guy is a good player if used properly. Yes, he is, but I'll talk about him and why he's being hindered now. But maybe in the bit, and tomorrow as well, I'll talk about him. I'll hint about him in a bit, because he's soon coming back. But we even when we let go of Casemiro, have enough experience to help the young Kobes, the Garnachos, the Hoylands, and all these other young players we need to bring in. So I have got no issues. But the reason I think we need to sell in this summer, why we need to sell Casemiro, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony, is because because of financial fair play, Manchester United is in a sell to buy situation. If we are going to buy anyone to improve, which we must do to improve the squad in the summer, we've got to sell. Sir Jim is there. Even if he has got 2 billion. His 2 billion can build the stadium. It is okay for him to get the 2 billion and build the new Dream Old Trafford, or whatever he will name it if he wants to change the name. But when it comes to player transfers and all that, financial fair play will not allow him. So meaning we still have got to sell players to buy new players. Now, the problem is, if we want to first grind all the football out of our players, even when we know that they are headed on a downward spiral, then it means all players have got to live for free. We will not be selling any players. So that's not business. That's not how you manage the football business. Football business means you're supposed to be able to know when to sell, but also for you to sell a player and get reasonable money, you might sell them when there is still some value to sell. Now, if Casemiro stays at Manchester United beyond the summer, honestly, even if his contract will still be young, I think he'll still have 2 years left on his contract. No one will buy Casemiro the summer after that, because he will be what, 33 or 32, and obviously we know that he's headed down now. His fitness is going down. He gave us a good season the last season. He's looking like he's going to give us a good end of this season if he keeps staying fit. Sell him there when he has had a good ending, when he's still ripe. Sir Alex Ferguson would instantly make the decision, pick up the phone, sell him even without him knowing, and address him. I'll keep telling the story of how Sir Alex Ferguson sold the Stam. Sir Alex Ferguson sold the Stam after 3 years. Why? Because the Stam, the reason why Stam was by that, he was up to today. Stam was played in the Premier League for only 3 years, but up to today, the Stam is rated among the best defenders to ever play in the Premier League. Of all who have played for decades and ages, he's rated among the best defenders to ever play in the Premier League. But Sir Alex Ferguson sold him, and everyone was shocked, even himself. And he sold him to a club he didn't want to go to. He sold him to Lazio. You know why? Because I think he had an interview, and you know how we journalists can be. This journalist just changed the story of the interview and it leaked. So the journalist writes something completely opposite of what Stam was trying to say, and this was going to disorganize the club and the dressing room. So Sir Alex Ferguson says, "Well, as you're my best player," sold him and informed him in his car. Sir Alex Ferguson at Carrington walked into the parking, I think after training, and sat in Yapstam's car and told him that I've sold you. Told him what? Where have you sold me to? That's you. Why? He had, I think, gone to explain to him what had happened, that it is not true and all. Ferguson sold him instantly. Man United still moved on. United still moved on and excelled. The one key thing you're supposed to, for Evans, his contract will be done. Evans is a no-brainer. It's not even. But I actually wouldn't mind if Evans stayed for a longer time, because Evans, we don't count Evans as a player we spend a lot of money on, really. Evans is there as a legend of the club who was coming to maintain his fitness without a club, impress the manager who was struggling. We have no money. Told him, you know what, come and stay around. Please come and keep playing for us. I'm sure Evans does not earn even £40,000 per week at United. I don't think we spend any money on Evans in the short 1 year contract is signed. If he's fit, he can still stay. He can stay for as long as the way Tom Hinton has stayed for a long time. I don't have issues with Evans at all, because he's not taking any money, but he has not put a foot wrong the time he has been there. When he's there, he's performing. So his experience can come in handy. So and it's literally for free almost. We are not spending any money on him, so we can keep him around. I have no issues for me, by the way, whatsoever. But the thing I was saying is that we have got to start making decisions and selling these players when we can make money out of them. The reason we are stuck with Anthony is because we took so long to decide to sell him, Anthony Martial. If we stay with Marcus Rashford beyond the next summer, it is going to be the same case. Yet, if we sold Marcus Rashford next summer, we can get not less than £80 million from so many teams that would be willing to sign him, from Bayern, perhaps even Madrid, if they don't get Kylian Mbappe, or PSG. Many clubs would want to sign Marcus Rashford. But for us as United, his best is behind him at United. We need to sell him now. For Anthony, there are no questions. There is no debate about him. Maybe the thing would be who would be willing to pay for Anthony. But I think there are clubs that would be willing to pay for Anthony, even in this Premier League. We should be selling him now, right now. Of course, people can say, at the very least, we should be loaning Anthony out. But for me, it should be selling him, because it's too expensive. And the only thing is that who would buy him unless it's Saudi, because he has got a huge contract. But like I said, with the new people owning the football at United, there should be a window for them to renegotiate with these players and terminate contracts if they have to. But for me, it's very important for us to sell Anthony, because rather Casemiro, Anthony, and Marcus Rashford, because those three players can get us enough money to reorganize this squad, to boost the squad of youngsters we have. Because if you sell Marcus Rashford, let's say the list, £80 million. Sell Anthony, let's say 40 million. We can get someone who can give us 40 million for Anthony. Yeah, that's a loss, but yeah, it's okay. We take the loss. That's the fact. So 40 million pounds. Sell Jadon Sancho. Because Sancho is never going to work well. We're never going to work well with Eric Ten Hag, but we know that Ten Hag is going to be given a further 1 year. So sell Jadon Sancho. We can get Dortmund apparently are almost open to the idea of signing him permanently, because he's working wonders for them. So Sancho, Dortmund could give us about 40 million or something. I don't expect them to give us 60, was it 72 or 60 what that we paid? I think like 40 million there, about we can get that. Sell Jadon Sancho. I had forgotten to add him on the list. So sell Sancho for about 40 million. You forget him because he's on loan, but he's our player. Sell, so 80 plus 40, that's 120. So I'm saying 80 for Marcus Rashford, 40 for Jadon Sancho, that's 120 million. Sell Anthony for 40 or 30. Okay, let's put it the list. 30 million. That's 150 million pounds. Yeah? That for me, I think is that's 150 million. Casemiro, if we sold Casemiro in the summer with the form he's playing at right now, and Casemiro should go and join Cristiano at Al Nassr. Al Nassr can give us 40 million for Casemiro. That's 190 million, nearly 200 million. So that's 190 million. Now with 190 million, what do we do with that money? Don't sign Frankie de Jong. Go to Benfica. You need to replace Casemiro. That's a no-brainer. Replace Casemiro immediately. Bring Joao Neves or any other young holding midfielder. They are there. There's quite a number of them, and we can go into names. Maybe I will have a special show on that. Who will replace Casemiro? But Joao Neves is the name top of mind now. You sign Joao Neves. I know that Benfica was trying to tie him down on a contract extension to put a buyout clause of about 130 million pounds. But the reality is, I don't think Benfica can refuse 80 million pounds for Joao Neves. So get all the money we spent we got from Marcus Rashford, buy a holding midfielder, a replacement for Casemiro. Either Joao Neves or whoever, even if they want 90, pay it because he's young. I think he's 20 or 21. So sign Joao Neves. The same amount, the same money, buy a centre back, replace Rafael Varane, but also get a fit centre back. Todibo has been top of the list for a long time. Todibo can come for about 40 million. In the summer, he will be available to buy. Niche wants to finish as far as they can, then they can accept to put Todibo on the market. So buy Todibo for about 40 million. You can Niche. I'm telling you, we had 190, and I've shown you how we are raising this 190. Buy Todibo. You have for 40. So you've got 80 for your Neves, 40 for Todibo. You've got that's 120. You're remaining with 70 million from 190. You're remaining with 70 million pound. Buy a backup striker for Rasmus Højlund. Don't go into this bidding war for 100 million pounds rated Ivan Toney. Overrated. No, don't go for Ivan Toney. We don't need Ivan Toney. Rasmus Højlund is a better striker than Ivan Toney. He has shown he is. There is no doubt about that. Go for Sahu Girassi. Cheap, but can come ably and play able deputy. Go for Sahu Girassi or these other 20, 25 million pound strikers. There are quite a number of them around. There is this, what's his name, Jimenez. Is it Rodrigo Jimenez? There's those 25, 20 million pound strikers. Those are the ones we need. We already spent 72 million pounds on a striker. That's marquee enough. So Højlund has proven he's good. So spend 20, 25, at most 30 million on a backup striker for Højlund. Those are 3 signings. So let's say you spent 30 on that one. You're remaining with 40 million pounds. You're remaining with 40 million pounds. Which 40 million pounds you can keep for January. You may not have to panic and sign another player. But what do you do then? The fourth thing you do in the summer, bring back Mason Greenwood to play on the right wing and put Garnacho on the left. Man United will be the most fierce team in global football. But you realize that we will not have spent a nickel from our money. We would actually have saved about 40 million that we can use in Jan if we need to strengthen other areas, because you don't want to sign so many players, back-to-back summers. No, already we have new players coming in. So many players we brought in. We've got Mason Mount there and all. You don't want to sign so many players, but just those. Hold a replacement for Casemiro, a centre back, Todibo, a backup striker for Rasmus Højlund, Mason Greenwood. 4 of them. Hope that, and now I'm saying that, putting all other factors constant, that Luke Shaw is fit, Tyrell Malacia is back and fit. That on the right, Diogo Dalot has improved as he looks, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka is fit. Stable backup. So you've boosted the central defense. So you get Todibo playing alongside Lisandro Martinez. In the middle, you've got this Joao Neves playing next to Bruno Fernandes and Kobe Mainoo as your number 10, or vice versa. Neves playing next to Kobe, Bruno Fernandes as a number 10. Then up top, Rasmus Højlund, whose backup is Sahu Girassi on the bench. Then this side, you've got Alejandro Garnacho, and on the other side, you've got Mason Greenwood. Then on the bench, you've got Amad Diallo. Diallo can play both on the left and on the right. Recall Facundo Pellistri from his loan. So you know that you've got for Garnacho, because Mason Greenwood can also play on the left. So each is a backup of the other. In case one is not fit, the other one moves this side and you bring Amad Diallo from the bench to start. Bro, come on. Come on. sometimes I feel like, I can be a decent manager for Manchester United. Let's get to the comment section. Why they should give me this job? Alfred Sendwe, I think, he's saying Casemiro, Eriksen, Martial, Rashi, Evans, Varane must go. Yes. Thank you. Evans, you don't need to mention Evans because he's there on a short stay, which we can prolong. I wouldn't care Evans staying around for a bit. Alfred Sendwe and Anthony Ye, he must go. Beautiful. Edeku Chris saying, big up to you, Web. Thanks for the show. Talk about our number one, Andre Onana. Now, Andre Onana has been unfortunate. Let's be real. I honestly know that Onana has made mistakes, and I've called him out a lot of times here, making basic mistakes. But I've also said it here before. Again, if I passed videos from months ago when we were being linked to Onana and Pickford and all these guys, I said it here that my only issue with an African player or goalkeeper, and I'm African, so there is no bias in my statement. My only issue was the mentality of Africans when they reach such a stage. It takes, excuse me, guys. I now know why they say it's not good to have dinner or what. I think I've had way too much for my body's liking. But what there is some. So I said before when we were being linked to Pickford and Onana, and I said I would have chosen Pickford over Onana. And this is the reason, not because Pickford was actual, because Onana was the best goalkeeper in the Champions League, if you followed. He was a good Onana is a good goalkeeper. My only issue is, and time has proven me right, just that you people, either you're new to this channel or you just don't want to give me my flowers. But my only issue with Onana being an African player has been attitude. We Africans are not crafted to make it and keep making it. Usually, an African, and I know it's not all Africans, because you will talk about certain players who have made it, who have had a beautiful longevity, like Samuel Eto'o. But you see, there are only a handful of players who have had that longevity. You can talk of Samuel Eto'o. You can talk of who else? By the way, there are just a handful of footballers, African footballers, who have made it to the highest level and stayed there for a long time. I don't think Sadio Mane, for example, maybe Mo Salah, but I don't think Sadio Mane has achieved the maximum he could have achieved. Sadio Mane is how old right now? Let me check his age. I don't have it off head. Sadio Mane should still be playing at a big club, but he overachieved with Liverpool and got satisfied. African players get satisfied so easy. Sadio Mane is 31. 31, but he's playing in what? But Sadio Mane I was shocked when Sadio Mane left Liverpool to go to whatever that club, Bayern, and he failed at Bayern. It's because he overachieved at Liverpool. We Africans do not have that longevity. Let me see. How old was Nwankwo Kanu when he left Arsenal? Think about Jeje Okocha. Played at Bolton, and what else? With his talent, Okocha could have played football until he was 36. Because Africans, we get satisfied so easy. When we reach the top, we don't know how to motivate ourselves to keep wanting, to keep the hunger and keep wanting. Now, that is for me the issue that Andre Onana has had. Someone told me about to talk about our number one. This is Ediku. Talk about our number one. This is what I'm saying about our number one. Onana is not a bad goalkeeper, but you can see that Onana's issue is in his head. That is why he makes baby mistakes, because he's on the pitch, but he's thinking about the people in the stands. Let me tell you the story. If I've not shared it here before, I don't remember. When I was watching Man United Tottenham at Old Trafford during the warm-up time, and I've got those videos on my phone. At the warm-up time, of course, the players who are starting come in before those who are, come in later after those the reserves. So when Onana he came in alone. He came sprinting. You know how he's big and his big butt, bending like this and running. And the whole of Old Trafford, the Stretford end, they were shouting. Yeah, they were shouting and screaming his name, Onana. And you can see that this is exactly what he wants. That is exactly what he wants. That it gets in his head that this is the biggest club. By the way, Even if Onana has been probably one of our worst players, he is one of the most popular players at United. Famous players. Onana makes news. I'll just give you an example. In the past, so many uh, months I've been doing this hotspot. The one of the players I talk about and the video gets a lot of viewership is Andre Onana. Even if it's nothing, we talk about Andre Onana, the views are so crazy. People are so interested in Onana on TikTok, on where, everywhere, on all platforms. Why? He's a showman. Now that has gotten to his head because of the size of his, probably wherever he goes, people talk about him, people know him, and now they're giving him private jets. These are the things getting to his head. Now, for an African, he can never play football again. He cannot concentrate. And Eric Ten Hag is backing him. Cameroon want him. He's coming out of retirement. They are sending polling meetings. Eric Ten Hag has to call. Think about it, you, an African who is born in the poverty we grew up in Africa. Think about it. You go to a club like Manchester United, you replace the highest paid player at United, David De Gea. You come, we waited for Nana, like the Christians wait for the return of Jesus. You come and arrive in a private jet. They come and open doors for you, and paparazzi all over the place. They want you. You are Andre Onana, who just months ago was banned from football because of doping issues. You were born in the poverty of Africa, of Cameroon. So all this is getting in your head. You're going to earn, I think Onana earns about 160 or 180,000 pounds per week. So you're earning all this crazy money per week. They have signed you for 50 million. You've come like a god. You're coming. You're better than the best goalkeeper in the Premier League the previous season. You're the best. You are in the Champions League final. You're Andre Onana. Web on the hotspot starts crafting songs about you. Onana, what's my name? Onana, what's your name? Da, 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 da. It is all building up in your head. You are African, born in this poverty. Boss, it takes a certain level of humility, a certain character for you to concentrate. You enter Old Trafford and the entire Stratford end is shouting, and you see that the tunnel is sandwiched between, I think, the Sir Alex Ferguson stand and Stratford end. You enter the Old Trafford and all that noise is coming from the Stratford end, and they are all shouting your name. It is so difficult to concentrate and play football. That is exactly what is affecting Onana. Now, he's beginning probably to get used to it. At Inter Milan, no one cared. They are Italians. They don't care about these black guys. I think we've seen the most cases of racism coming from the Serie A, haven't we? So they don't shout and praise you that much unless you see Victor Osimhen won the Serie A for Napoli. Do you see how they treat them from their own social media platforms? You see how they mistreat him. So those racists, they don't care. But in the UK, by the way, racism is everywhere, but in the UK, it's not really, honestly, that as bad, especially in football. They appreciate these young players, these black players, as long as you're performing. But so they shout your name and sing songs of you like that and chant you. And you are this African born in this whole what, without proper management in our structures, it gets in your head. That's exactly what is affecting Andre Onana. That's exactly what is affecting Andre Onana. So he's in goal, but he's thinking about how do I dive and get all the attention. So instead of following his instinct, diving instinctively as a goalkeeper, a ball comes and he wants to be fancy with his dive and he's a second too late. It's a goal. A basic thing. So for me, I think the issues with Onana are in his head. But if we are to judge him by the last game, maybe, but also the fact that Andre Onana was really exposed. When he joined United, it was unfortunate that he was having all these issues in his head, but also the players ahead of him were work. That squad was a mess. It was weak. He was exposed. He was very exposed. That's the reality. So you understand. But now it's beginning to pick up, and you saw that he was now beginning to make saves that he hitherto couldn't have made. He made some decent saves, by the way, in the game against West Ham, because West Ham had their moments in that game, and he made saves that I think 5 games prior to that he wouldn't have made. So maybe we need to give him time, and I've still not given up on him. He has been trusted by Eric Ten Hag. Maybe Ten Hag put him there for him to get used, and all. It has gotten, the Africa Cup has exposed him, and it's done now. Maybe now he's going to calm down. I saw him at Carrington. He came driving his Porsche Cayenne, and he's smiling. He's that plastic smile of his where he just does this. This is how he smiles. That's how he smiles with his haircut. It's a plastic smile. He's not smiling, but so that he comes in and uh, looks around like it's a proud smile, as if we know how to read people. But I think for me it has been in his head, and but now that he had a good game against West Ham, we are just hoping that it's going to get better. That now he has calmed down. He has done what more stardom can he experience? He has experienced the stardom. He has even got private jets. It probably was a good thing that he went through all that. Now he can calm down and concentrate more on the football. When he concentrates on the football, Andre Onana is a good goalkeeper. There is no doubt he's a good goalkeeper. He has proved that. But also partly, maybe his reascendance to the top was a bit fast. That coming from more than 9 months without playing football, you play for one season at Inter Milan and the next season you're at Manchester United. Eh, that's a huge, it's too fast. Maybe he was not really exactly ready. He had been away from the game for some time. So you think about a lot of things around him and you see maybe these are affecting him. But you see, at 28 for a goalkeeper, you're a baby. So he has all the time to redeem himself. It's in his hands now. And the beauty is that the boss is still there and is backing him. But the reality is he's a good ball distributor. I think his ball distribution against West Ham was impeccable. Very important. I see why it's important to how Eric Ten Hag wants to play. Impeccable ball distribution from him. So there is quite a number of positives from Onana, and we've got reason to be patient with him. I think we are beginning to get the reason to be patient with him. At least now the whole squad looks better. Now let him make the mistakes with the whole squad looking good now. Then we can judge him. But I think the mistakes will keep reducing because he's beginning to calm down and forget about the stardom and focus on why he came here. Though his longevity can still be questioned because Africans get satisfied after he has made that 150 or 80,000 pounds per week for 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons. He will be too satisfied. He will not have the hunger to stay for so long. It will take a special character for him to. So that's what I think, guys. It's 3 minutes to midnight here. Edliku Chris is saying, yeah, Ture. Yes, yeah, Ture tried to have the right mentality, but I still think, yeah, Ture. Let me remind you of why yeah, Ture again behaved like a typical. You remember that yeah, Ture at some point I think was the highest paid player at Manchester City. He was earning about 200,000 pounds per week or 220,000 pounds per week or thereabout. That's what he was earning, a lot of money. But I remember what disorganized their tour with Manchester City was a cake that Manchester City did not sing for him happy birthday on his birthday. They did not prepare him a cake. Now, isn't that shaming? Isn't that how petty can we Africans be? And that disorganized his time at Manchester City and eventually had to leave. And after that, what happened? But Yaya Toure was still fit and playing good football at that time. He could have still been playing. The Cristiano Ronaldo's play up to 39. He's the wealthiest footballer to ever live, but he's still playing and hungry. Imagine if Yaya Toure, how old is Yaya Toure? Again, let me verify. Let me verify. But you see, this thing called being satisfied. These African players get to satisfy too easily. Okay, he's 40 now. He would have retired. 40 is a bit much. But Yaya Toure could have played and up to about 38 or thereabout if he had the right mentality. But he stopped playing in 2019. In some Kawat Kwengidu Huangwai from Man City. He left Man City in 2018 after 8 successful years. Yes, he had his longevity. Yes, he did, and I wouldn't fault him. But you can, like I said, you can count the number of players, maybe Drogba. You can count the number of African players who have that longevity in their career, who be on the top and sustain it for a long time. There are just a few. It's because of the mentality. When they make this 210, 100,000, 120,000 pounds, look at Riyad Mahrez. They make this money because when you come back to Africa, you are filthy rich. You look at Sadio Mane, filthy rich, building hospitals for fun, marrying 18-year-olds, what have you. So it's a mentality thing with Africans, but there are a few who there is always going to be those ones who have the right mentality. But most African players do not have that longevity. It's a mental thing. Like Cristiano Ronaldo keeps saying, mentality. They get satisfied too easily. We don't have that drive, that hunger. But either it's the hardest thing to have. Certain times when you reach the top and make it, you're okay, because when you reach the Premier League, you play for one season and you have enough money to make you rich as an African for the rest of your life. If you're smart, you can never run broke again. So, but those who are hungry, they will stay there, keep wanting and keep grinding and keep playing on the top and hope to make as much money as they can. Guys, I think that's it. Unless you have one more question for me. My name is Webb. Thank you so much for being a part of this for what, 1 hour. We've been here talking Manchester United. I'll be here back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. We'll be here and we will be discussing, of course, the squad probable lineup and any news, if anything could have changed, any late news coming through. We'll talk about it. And of course, we'll be looking ahead to that game. Tomorrow, we'll also have a watch along of that game. We are going to be starting our watch alongs, resuming them starting tomorrow. Guys, football is interesting when you watch it with people. So watch it with me as we do enjoy it together on that watch along. We'll have it. And yeah, we'll talk more about Manchester United. For now, thank you, Edeku, Fred Sendwe, Ayub Kamara, and everyone else who has been on. Even if you haven't commented, I thank you so much for being a part of the hotspot. Catch you again tomorrow morning. Good night.